must choose between kindness for your kin or hate for your enemies.
Your strength breaks men's bones. I have the cunning to break their minds.
And night by night, we will carry out my pledge of vengeance.
It obviously was very physically taxing for both of you, but I was wondering, were there any moments that were sort of organic and natural and not quite hard work? Because it struck me as a lot of physical work. So what were the moments that were natural and easy? Anya, if you want to start.
Well, I think, the nature of it being difficult in terms of what we were dealing with naturally made it not hard work to play the scenes, because all you had to do is exist. Like, everything that's going on around you is happening in real time. And I think that was something when I first read the script that I was really excited about, because when you're doing a Robert Eggers movie, that if it says they walk across, volcanoes and glaciers and whatever, that we will be walking across volcanoes and glaciers, and you'll just be straight in it. So I think we all adapted to our environment very quickly. Like, I can remember taking naps in the back of, remember that helicopter ride that we took up to that
the Mourns.
Yeah, the Mourns. I just remember taking a nap on the ground in like 2 coats and then waking up and being like, oh, we're still here. Okay, let's go again. So I think that kind of made it semi-easy to make the film, because we were just in it.
Yeah.
Like baptism of fire a little bit.
Yeah.
And for Alexander, for you?
I agree. I think being out there, it's quite an immersive, intense Viking movie, and it felt right to shoot that on location. And again, Rob is all about authenticity and historical accuracy. So he made sure to build the farm a year before we shot the movie, so it had time to really age and grow in.
Right.
The long ships were built exactly like a long ship would have been built 1,000 years ago, down to like the nails, the type of wood. So
it's unbelievable.
And obviously the costumes were 100% historically accurate. So Rob, together with some of the foremost Viking historians in the world, went through everything and made sure that it would look and feel correct. And that is definitely an asset as an actor when you step into those shoes and you step onto that set, that you're literally in a Viking world. Yeah. And that's very helpful.
When I just spoke with Robert, I had the pleasure of speaking with him before I spoke to you. And one of the things he mentioned was that this story inspired Shakespeare to write Hamlet. And one of the things I thought was so interesting is this, like Hamlet, is really about human nature, and it is about love and death and grief and all of that. And so I was wondering, was there anything in particular that allowed you to connect with the kind of strife that each of your characters was carrying? Alex, if you want to start.
I envisioned in doing prep Amleth as a berserker Viking, but incredibly lonely. He's still that abandoned boy that you see at the beginning of the movie, and he has not been able to connect with anyone, another human being, since he was since he lost his parents, and he's driven by fate. He believes that his fate is to avenge the death of his father and save his mother, kill his uncle. And I was fascinated by that determination, where that came from, how just like an arrow, he moves forward through the world. And in order to understand him and that journey, I had to learn more about the mythology, the spiritual world that the Vikings believed in, how the Norns of Fates had chosen this path for him, and that was a mindset that's quite different from modern day mindset, and something I had to kind of absorb and understand.
And Anya, for you, I mean, as a woman, I felt a lot of that frustration of circumstances driving you. And obviously, it's not great for women then. It's better now. But for you, what was that experience? How did you connect to that character?
It's interesting because Alex is completely right in the sense of how real these Norns of fate are, how real the gods are. And so I always felt like Olga was in the present, but there was also an overarching eye that she was looking through and looking at how everything was going to wind together. And in the case of her story with Amleth, I think she sees the end goal and she hopes that she can change fate. And there's still a human element of that. There's still a human element of wanting things to go a certain way, but understanding that that's not how that story goes. So I think that kind of frustration was interesting. And it's been really fun with Rob, actually, because he has always allowed me to explore female rage in a way that potentially has been uncomfortable for other people. And even if the scene doesn't necessarily have it written in, if I'm like, hey, this is, you know, something that I really feel strongly about, Rob's always like, go, like just go for it and have fun with it and be as honest as you can. And I think their bond is so strong that those feelings are really, really raw.
I will avenge you, Father.
I will avenge you, Father.
I will save you, Mother.
I will save you, Mother.
I will kill you, Father.
What was it about this legend that you were drawn to and wanted to tell as a cinematic experience in particular?
Well, you know, in the beginning, I was never really interested in Vikings because of the macho stereotype and because of the right-wing misappropriation of Viking culture. But when I took a trip to Iceland, the landscapes were so incredibly inspiring that I finally picked up some Icelandic sagas and started to read them. And the idea of a Viking movie was sort of in the back of my head. And then I had a lunch with Alexander Skarsgård a couple of years later, who said he's always wanted to make a Viking movie and he's been trying in earnest for 10 years to do it. And that's when it became real. And a few days later, I stumbled upon, in doing research to try to make a Viking movie, I stumbled upon this story of Amleth, which is an Old Norse myth that inspired Shakespeare to write Hamlet. And so I realized that if Hamlet is my plot, The Lion King, everybody knows it. So I can, you know, this will work to tell a big epic that everyone can, you know, that everyone can understand, while I can still indulge in the intricacies of Viking mythology and ritual culture.
Right, because it definitely, like Hamlet, obviously, it speaks to all these human themes, regardless of time and place and space. It really is about love and family and vengeance and all of those kind of humanistic animal needs, right?
Absolutely. I mean, that's why it's a story that keeps getting told over and over again. Yeah. Right.
What is it, do you think, that endears the kind of right wing, I'm pointing to my left, the right wing's culture to misappropriate? Do you think it's a toxic masculinity kind of return to primal? I mean, obviously, like, you know, one of the things that I really don't like about Viking culture is that it is like an incredibly violent patriarchal culture. I mean, wow, they're great poets and visual artists, and from what we think, musicians, you know, but you know, there's a lot of negative things about Viking culture. Right. I mean, you said the attention that we paid to the amount of slavery in the culture. Right. You know, I mean, so there's a lot of things, but I think a lot of European mythology, it gets misappropriated. Right. You know, it's just people look. If you're searching with a hammer, everything's a nail. What can I tell you? Right,
you know?
Right, absolutely. With the Northman, obviously you've built for yourself kind of a body of work that, from as a viewer, my experience of it is there's a lot of, there's a methodical pacing to it, very evenly paced. How do you go about doing that?
You know, instinct, trial, error, a whole lot of things. You know, I mean, I think with this film, unlike my other movies, the camera's always moving. So there is this propulsive aspect to the actual cinematic language. Like it's like, you know, nearly everything is center framed and we're just going going forward. And I think this movie has more music than any of my other films. I mean, the movie's 2 hours and 16 minutes long, and I think that Robin and Seb composed 2 hours of music for the movie.
Right.
You know, and that music, you know, also propels the movie forward very, very much. But yeah, I mean, and then you know, but my first cut of the movie was over 2.5 hours long, and I knew that was too long. I mean, and contractually, it was also too long. But I think, you know, it took a lot of pressure from the studio to get it to the place it's in now. But as difficult as it was, I'm grateful to that pressure.
Right.
You know, because this is the film that I said I would make, and this is the film I wanted to make, which is the most entertaining version of a Robert Eggers movie.